Namaste and good noon.
Okay, thank you. I think the photographers may leave.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so very much. May I start, sir?
Yes, of course. Let's start.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to this post-monetary policy conference, press conference, second in this financial year. Friends, today we have with us Governor Shri Sanjay Malhotra, Deputy Governors Shri M. Rajeshwar Rao, Shri T. Ravi Shankar, Shri Swaminathan J. and Dr. Poonam Gupta. I would take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Gupta to this press conference after taking charge as the Deputy Governor. We also have with us Executive Directors, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan and Dr. Ajit Joshi, and other friends from Reserve Bank. Before we begin, I'll request all of you to please either switch off your mobile phones or keep it on silent. Please restrict to one question per person so that everybody gets a chance. And then maybe going forward, we can take another question if time permits. And when you are asking question, please see that you switch on the mic which is in front of you. Because that's how, the people listening to this transmission would be able to hear whatever is transpiring here. And once you are done, please switch it off to avoid the interference. Sir, there are 23 participants from media today. And with your permission, I'll call out the names. I'll ask Lata to ask her question.
Thank you, sir. Lata from CNBC TV 18. Governor, thank you very much for the opportunity and for a policy that is giving us a lot of headlines. Okay, I wanted you to clarify things on the liquidity front. In the last few weeks, the repo rate, the call rate was not at the repo rate. You gave enough liquidity and the call rate was 25 basis points below the repo rate. Now that you have given a 50 basis cut, will you use liquidity in such a way to align the call rate more to the repo rate, which means you will do more VRRs, reverse repos, or will the reverse repo have to be suspended because your 40 billion short positions have to be, will mature? So if you can give us a little more color on liquidity, and on the stands itself, is it fair on the part of the market to assume an extended pause, or because the positive real rate, I mean, if you assume that that 1.4 to 1.9 positive real rate is what you are also going by, then with inflation at 3.7, you still have space to cut. So should the market assume that the terminal rate can still go down after the pause?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you, all of you, for coming here as usual and taking our message to everyone across the country. So thank you very much. You have asked 3 questions and 1 question. But we'll try to attempt to answer all of them. So first question is a very good question. In fact, what do we do with liquidity? Where do we actually maintain now the call rate? The call rate today is hovering at the lower end of the LAF as it was till yesterday. So it was at about 5.75%. Whether we now maintain it at 5.25 or at the policy rate, which is at 5.5. That's, as I said, we'll see how the situation goes. Of course, liquidity is abundant, and if we do not do any VRRs, then it's going to stay at 5.25. If we do VRRs, then, we can bring it anywhere between, depending on the amount. So we'll see, how the situation evolves, and we'll take a call. We have not really given it a thought on that, so we will decide, and you will come to know, in the coming few days. I'll not be able to give you a very precise answer. But having the policy at 5.5, and the stance, now going to neutral, so all that will, certainly come in the picture. We will take a call as to where, we will try to have the call rate. The second question is on where do we see the terminal rate. The MPC, I think, has very clearly, articulated that in the statement, in the resolution that has come in. We have changed the stance from accommodative to neutral. And it has mentioned that there is now very limited space for the monetary policy, actually, given the current circumstances. And you are aware of the current circumstances, which is that growth is at about 6.5%. Inflation, we are projecting at 3.7% for this year. And next year, it's above 4, it's 4.5%, or roundabout. So given these current, if these were to play out, there is very limited space, is what, MPC says, and that's why it has been reduced now. We have changed now to neutral. MPC also states that we will continue to monitor the incoming data, and basis that, given especially the uncertainties, what way now we will move will depend primarily on what the data suggests to us. There was a third question, which what was your? That's it. Thank you. So I've answered.
That's what I wanted. Yeah.
Thanks.
If you can allow me another question, I will.
Yeah, we'll come back
Later.
We'll come back and see if there is time.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll have Mr. Mayur Shetty from Times of India.
Governor, you spoke about the uncertain environment, and a lot of uncertainty is coming from the behavior of the US administration, and that is also resulting in a lot of volatility in dollar assets. So given this, how would you balance between rebuilding the Forex reserves and managing exchange rate volatility?
See, our policy over there is very, very clear. It has been very consistent. And we do not manage, or try to target any price, any level, any band. You are aware of that. If there is any abnormal, that's a standard response, right? Any abnormal volatility, if it is there, that is what we try to counter, and we let the market prices be determined, prices be determined by the markets. Now, this question, and I think that was something that even Lata alluded to, and that was the third point, I think, that you mentioned.
The 40 billion.
Is, this 40 billion, etc. We are not unduly concerned about that. Even if you were to exclude that $625 billion, if you were to exclude this $65 billion, including, the one after 1 year that is coming in, we are not unduly worried, on that. It's a very, very comfortable level to be in. Yes, if there are opportunities and we can build reserves, that will happen. But that is not something which we will be unduly bothered about. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. अब मैं श्री अनुराग शाह से आग्रह करूंगा कि वो अपना प्रश्न पूछें. अनुराग शाह, ET Now स्वदेश से.
थैंक यू सर. थैंक यू सर. जो सर ने इतने बड़ा धमाका कर दिया, सबको चौंका दिया है. जो मेन प्रश्न लेके आया था सर, वो भी पूछूंगा साइड में. सर ये आज के जो ऐलान से क्या बड़ा मकसद है और क्या संदेश आप देना चाहते हैं ब्रॉडर रूप में?
नहीं, ब्रॉडर रूप में देखो, संदेश हमारा यही है कि इन्फ्लेशन, आपको मालूम है, मुद्रास्फीति इन्फ्लेशन पे अब काफ़ी जो है नियंत्रण में है, और वो जंग जो है हम ये मान सकते हैं कि उसके ऊपर में हमने जीत हासिल कर ली है. तो एक मैसेज है, क्योंकि हमने 4% से उसको घटा करके जो हमारा अनुमान था उसको 3.7% किया है मुद्रास्फीति को. उसी प्रकार से जो ग्रोथ है वो 6.5% है, अच्छी है, लेकिन उसमें और गुंजाइश है उसके अंदर में और बढ़ोतरी होने का. तो जो भी हमें कार्य करना है, हम ये बिलीव करते हैं कि वो डिसाइसिवली करना चाहिए. सही समय पे करना चाहिए और एक जो निश्चितता है, तो इस अनिश्चित वातावरण में निश्चितता मेरे ख्याल से जो है हमें मार्केट्स को, सभी को, बैंक्स को, इकोनॉमी को निश्चितता देने का बहुत अधिक ज़रूरत थी। इसी वजह से ये जो आपने देखा कि एमपीसी ने कहा कि हमने फ्रंट लोड किया है ताकि एक ये निश्चितता रहे कि हाँ 50% हमें बेसिस पॉइंट्स कम करना है तो एक साथ ही उसको कर दिया। उसी प्रकार से जो सीआरआर का है, हम चाहते तो हम इसको 4 महीने बाद भी अनाउंस कर सकते थे, हमने आज ही अनाउंस कर दिया पहले से ही, ताकि लोगों को, बैंक्स को ये निश्चित हो जाए कि लिक्विडिटी जो कि हमने कहा ज़रूर है लेकिन वो एक्शंस में भी तब्दील होना चाहिए, तो वो एक्शंस में हमने अपने तब्दील किया कि जो सीआरआर है वो एक हमने उसको आज ही घोषणा कर दी। तो निश्चितता जो है जितनी होगी उतना हमें लगता है कि उससे हमारी जो अर्थव्यवस्था है उसको बल मिलेगा और यही हमारा संदेश है कि हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था अच्छी चल रही है और उस अर्थव्यवस्था को दोनों मुद्रास्फीति को ध्यान में रखते हुए वो हमारा प्रमुख संदेश है, उससे हम बिल्कुल नहीं भटकेंगे। वो हमारा प्रमुख प्राइमरी हमारा जो मोटिव है कि प्राइस स्टेबिलिटी, मुद्रास्फीति को हम कंट्रोल करें, उसके ऊपर में हम अंकुश लगाएं और जो हमारे को टारगेट दिया है उस टारगेट की ओर हम उसको ले जाएं। जब वो हो जाए तो उसके बाद में हम जो ग्रोथ है, ग्रोथ के ऊपर भी हम ध्यान दें, वही हमने इसमें किया।
जो स्टांस आपने चेंज किया सर, पिछली पॉलिसी में ही आप न्यूट्रल से अकोमोडेटिव आए थे और इस बार वापस एक ही पॉलिसी में आप वापस उस स्टांस पे चले गए, तो उससे कहीं एक मैसेज गलत नहीं जाएगा?
गलत मैसेज से मैं नहीं समझा। हाँ, ये बात आप ज़रूर कह सकते हैं, ये बात हमारे भी दिमाग में थी कि हमने पिछले बार ही तो इसको एकोमोडेटिव किया था। हमारे पास में चॉइस ये था कि हम उसको अकोमोडेटिव रखते, जो हमने बोला था, जो मैंने आपको कहा कि बोलते रहें कि अकोमोडेटिव है लेकिन करें नहीं कुछ, तो एक्शन जो है वो ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट है और जो भी हम बात कर रहे हैं वो एक्शन में तब्दील होना चाहिए। इसीलिए जो है हमने उन हमारे जो स्टेटमेंट्स रहे इंटेंट के, अकोमोडेटिव केवल एक इंटेंट था, उसको हम अकोमोडेटिव रखते रखते नहीं चेंज करते, अकोमोडेटिव ही रखते, तो क्या वो बेहतर रहता, या हम सर्टेनिटी दें कि हाँ हमने अकोमोडेटिव से जो हमने आपको वादा किया था कि हम इसको रेट को कम करेंगे, डिसाइसिवली कम करेंगे, वो हमने किया और स्टांस को हमने न्यूट्रल कर दिया है। आज के सर्कमस्टांसेस में जो स्थिति बनती है उसके हिसाब से बहुत कम गुंजाइश, जैसा कि एमपीसी ने नोट किया कि उससे बहुत कम गुंजाइश अब रह जाती है, वेरी लिमिटेड स्पेस, उन्होंने कहा वेरी लिमिटेड स्पेस, तो कम गुंजाइश रह जाती है आगे और पॉलिसी रेट्स को कम करने की। ये एक पूरा संदेश हम दें, इसीलिए उसको न्यूट्रल में किया गया।
धन्यवाद सर। मूविंग टू दिस साइड ऑफ द टेबल, मिस्टर मनोजीत शाह फ्रॉम बिजनेस स्टैंडर्ड।
Good afternoon. Thank you, Punitji. Again on this stance, I mean,
Thank you.
this policy has several surprises. The most surprising part is the stance. As you said in the last policy, the accommodative means the rate can go down or it can stay there. So in that, so neutral would mean the rates can go up. Are you saying rate will not go up, but there will be a long pause? And whether there is a voting on stance, if you can.
It will depend. See, it will depend on data now. This is what neutral means. We had explained it in our earlier MPC. I had explained it in the earlier MPC statement that neutral will mean that it can go either ways. It will depend on how the data comes in. If the growth is weaker, it can mean that it will go down. If the growth is good, inflation is going up, it can mean that, the repo rate policy rate can go up. So it will depend on how the data, both, on inflation as well as growth turns out.
Was there voting on stance this time?
Stance, we have already mentioned that there is no, the statute does not, mandate a voting. There was a discussion on it, certainly, because we need to give a sense, we need to give a guidance. It's more of a guidance that we have to give to the market participants. And so there was a discussion and everyone all the 6 MPC members were of the view that we should change it to neutral. So there was no voting, but the view of all the MPC members is that going forward, the stance should be changed from accommodative to neutral.
Also, if you can add just one more, are you satisfied with the monetary transmission that has happened so far?
I think it has, going by past trends, the transmission has happened much faster, both on, in the money markets, in fact, you can see a huge transmission, more than what we have done, more than 50 basis points in the money markets at the shorter, especially, at the shorter term levels. And on the credit side also, we are now seeing some initial signs. Deposit rates, in fact, have been reduced, retail as well as wholesale, by most of the banks, about 40 basis points, they have reduced. The average, of course, is about 27 basis points. It has reduced over there. 17 basis points is the reduction on the credit side, on the outstanding credit. And in terms of fresh loans, there is, that's a little slow, but it has started. It is about 6 basis points as per data that we have. So that's slow, but it is much faster than other times. Normally, it takes 6 to 9 months. It's only been 4 months from the first policy cut. So from first policy cut of 25 basis points, against that, if 27 basis points on deposit side, 17 basis points on the credit outstanding side, and 6 basis points on the fresh loans, I think this is a very good transmission. However, we need to do it faster. And that's why, we have front-loaded some of our actions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll have Mr. Vishwanath Nair from NDTV Profit.
Good afternoon, Governor. Couple of questions, actually. The first one with respect to your GDP forecast, which has not changed. The estimates have not changed at all. What is the growth boost that you're expecting from this cumulative 100 basis point rate cut that you've afforded? And thereby, would there be a revision for FY26? And the second part is on the stance itself. I'm asking you again, in the past, there has been criticism that the stance is more or less becoming meaningless because we kept saying withdrawal of accommodation, but it was a prolonged pause. Is this a way to then bringing it back into relevance?
So your first question is what impact it has on growth. Obviously, it has a positive impact. It will be very difficult to assess as to how this transmission from monetary policy to the credit rates and then to the real economy, how that transmission happens. As you are aware, it takes minimum of, going by history, 6 to 9 months. We would like, of course, to expedite it, but we'll see impact of this only in the later half. So for this year, in terms of numbers, especially when there is so much of an uncertainty, we would not be in any position to give you how it will, to what extent it will impact the GDP numbers. Your second question is on, I can't actually speak about the past, what has happened, but our policy will be very, very clear. Whatever we are saying, we mean it, every bit of it, and you will continue to experience that.
Thank you, sir. Next is Ms. Swati Bhatt from
Also
the right.
to be kept in mind is, whether it is past or present or future, a lot of it is dependent on data. So if the data kind of changes, even if it is, say, accommodative or tightening, it does not necessarily mean, that next policy itself, you are going to tighten it or you are going to reduce the policy rate. It does not mean that. It depends on how the data is actually coming in, and how, what that data is showing. So if that data demands that you have to actually stay put, even if it is accommodative, it will, that's how, it will be done.
Thank you, sir. Next will be Swati Bhatt from Reuters.
Thank you, Puneet sir. Sir, I just wanted to understand, you have front-loaded the rate cuts and the certainty obviously helps. But we've seen that despite the massive surplus liquidity that has been there in the market, there is very limited scope to lend because there is genuine lack of demand from companies and corporates. There's not much capex happening as well. How does this liquidity really translate to boosting growth? What is the advantage of having so much flush of liquidity in the banking system? Similarly, on the CRR front as well, obviously you planned it in advance and announced it now. But CRR historically has been at the 4% sacrosanct level to some extent. Is there a renewed thinking on the CRR front, which is why you've gone ahead and cut it to 3%? Thank you.
Can I just add, nowhere you have told us why you cut the CRR. What was the RBI's thinking?
So let me take the second question first. I think the monetary policy statement that I read out, it did mention that it has two objectives. The first objective is that we need to, continue to provide liquidity, and I'll come to your first question relating to liquidity. And then we also mentioned that it will not only improve liquidity, but it will also help reduce cost of funding for the banks. So that is the other objective. And see, over the years, last 12, 13 years data I've seen, and one can even go back, the CRR has mostly remained at 4%, as you have rightly pointed out. During COVID, we reduced it by 1%. Now these reserves are basically kept for liquidity management. So the experience as of now does not suggest that perhaps, we do not need 4%. 3% can perhaps suffice. Having said that, we do not know what the future holds. So please don't hold me, to this number that, we are going to maintain this 3%. But as of now, it seems that 3% is a comfortable reserve ratio to have. And so from a liquidity management perspective, and so that's why, apart from providing liquidity, it will also reduce their costs and improve their NIMs by about 7 basis points, at least it should help, is our estimate. Why do we provide liquidity? So that, there is a better transmission, there is a faster transmission, and it is primarily, it's basically for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Take the next question.
Yeah, because so far banks are not lending. So how does that demand come in?
It will depend. We have said, even in the statement that this is not a sufficient condition. Monetary policy is not a sufficient condition. It is a necessary condition. We have provided that. We are confident that it will certainly translate into better credit growth. I'm not able to give you a number. Obviously and certainly with confidence one can say that it will certainly increase, the flow of credit. And so that's why, this liquidity is important. A reduction in repo rate is important. To what extent and what time frame it will take, that will be difficult to say.
Thank you, sir. Next will be Mr. Ankur Mishra from ET Now.
Thank you, Puneet sir. Good afternoon, Governor. I want to understand from you that you have given a statement in the monetary policy that today's steps should be seen towards propelling to a higher aspirational trajectory, and you're talking about growth. You have kept your target intact at 6.5%. Is there a scope of further revision ahead which should be expected with the kind of actions you have taken? And also, I will once again ask on the stance front, but in a cricket analogy, if you can explain, it was a roller coaster kind of a policy. We saw you announced 20, expectation was 25 basis point, you announced 50 basis point cut. Similarly for CRR, the expectation was 50, you announced 100. But on the stance front, you got back to the crease and said, I'll wait and watch. So how should one understand?
Well put. The target, you are saying that the target, the 6.5% is not the target, 6.5% is the forecast that we have made.
Sorry.
And the aspiration is certainly much more, between 7 and 8%, is our aspiration. Aspiration is 8%. We would like to grow, as fast as possible. You have said it all, I don't have to say anything more, on, you have put it out very well as to what, this monetary policy, because everyone here in India, they may not understand our monetary policy, but they will understand the cricket lingo. So you have put it out very well for your viewers.
थैंक यू सर। अब मैं जी बिजनेस से एकता सूरी को आमंत्रित करूंगा।
Policy has been very well received by the markets. However, I want to ask questions which are a little different from the market how they've received it. So मेरा पहला सवाल होगा, पिछली पॉलिसी में हमने गोल्ड लोन्स के ड्राफ्ट के ऊपर बात की थी। उस पॉलिसी से लेकर अब आज की पॉलिसी में आपने कुछ चेंजेस सोचे हैं? क्योंकि बहुत से लोगों को ऐसा भी लगता है कि अगर सोना हम गिरवी रखने जा रहे हैं तो हो सकता है हमारे पास ओनरशिप का कुछ प्रूफ ना हो, क्योंकि वो हमें अपनी मदर या किसी और से मिला हो, या फिर हॉलमार्क ना हो। तो ऐसे जो ट्वीक्स हैं आप सोच रहे हैं नियमों में बदलाव? और दूसरा ये भी, क्योंकि अब हम देख रहे हैं कि फॉरेन बैंक्स की बहुत दिलचस्पी है भारतीय बैंक्स में, तो आप FIIs को लेकर भी कुछ नियमों में बदलाव सोच रहे हैं? 26% का जो वोटिंग राइट है वो भले ही सरकार के पास है, या फिर फॉरेन बैंक कितना स्टेक ले सकते हैं भारतीय बैंक में?
अच्छा, आपने सवाल किया है जो गोल्ड लोन के बारे में, ये भी काफ़ी चर्चा में रहा है। मुझे लगता है कि ये सभी के लिए एक रुचि का विषय होगा, तो इस पे निश्चित रूप से आपका सवाल जो है बनता है। और मैं आपको बताना चाहूँगा सबसे पहले कि जो गोल्ड लोन के बारे में जो हमने रेगुलेशंस जारी किए थे वो केवल ड्राफ्ट थे, मसौदा थे, वो फाइनल नहीं थे। आपको ये भी बताना चाहूँगा कि हमने अब एक फ्रेमवर्क रेगुलेशन मेकिंग के लिए हमने एक जारी किया है, जो सबको हमने पब्लिक नोटिस के थ्रू हमने सबको बताया है कि कोई भी मेजर, जब भी हम कोई परिपत्र या रेगुलेशन या डायरेक्शन इशू करेंगे तो उससे पहले हम दो चीज़ें करेंगे। एक चीज़ हम कंसल्टेशन करेंगे, दूसरा हम उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट है उसका हम स्टडी करेंगे। तो उसी को ध्यान में रखते हुए ये भी हमने मसौदा गोल्ड लोन के बारे में हमने जारी किया। दूसरी चीज़ बताना चाहूँगा कि ये जो हमने जारी किया है इसमें कोई नयापन नहीं था, इसमें कोई नई चीज़ नहीं थी, ये केवल कोई नई बात नहीं थी। पुराने जो हमारे परिपत्र थे, पुराने जो रेगुलेशंस थे, उन्हीं को हमने कंसोलिडेट किया था, उनको कंसोलिडेट किया था और उनको रिआइटरेट किया था, क्योंकि ऐसा देखा जा रहा था कि कुछ जो हमारे रेगुलेटेड एंटिटीज़ हैं उनको वो अक्षरतः पालना नहीं कर रहे थे, क्योंकि उसमें क्लैरिटी नहीं थी और इसके बारे में उनको बताया गया था। इस कारण से इसमें कोई नयापन हालांकि नहीं था, लेकिन फिर भी जब वो बात बिल्कुल ब्लैक एंड वाइट में सामने आ गई तो इसलिए उसके ऊपर में हमारे पास में उसके कमेंट्स आए। तो मेरे ख्याल से आज ही हम जो है उसका फाइनल जो रेगुलेशन है, फाइनल डायरेक्शन है, आज नहीं तो एट द मोस्ट मंडे, सोमवार तक हम उसको जारी कर देंगे। आपने जो बात कही ओनरशिप के डॉक्यूमेंट्स के बारे में, वो जो हमने ड्राफ्ट जो इशू किया था उसमें भी ये बिल्कुल क्लियर लिखा हुआ है कि अगर आपके पास में उसके इनवॉइस नहीं है तो आप उसका एक सेल्फ डिक्लेरेशन आप दे सकते हैं, तो उसमें कोई चिंता की बात नहीं थी। उसको और हम उसमें और क्लैरिटी हम प्रोवाइड करेंगे। दूसरा ये एक बात आई कि क्रेडिट अप्रेजल, अब छोटे छोटे लोन के लिए क्रेडिट अप्रेजल नहीं किया जाए, तो वो भी हम इसमें डाल रहे हैं कि छोटे जो लोन्स हैं 2.5 लाख रुपए तक के जो लोन्स हैं उसमें गोल्ड से जो जिसमें कोलेट्रल आ जाता है उसमें क्रेडिट अप्रेजल की आवश्यकता नहीं है। तीसरा एक एंड यूज़ के ऊपर में बात आई थी कि एंड यूज़ की मॉनिटरिंग करनी है, उसमें भी हमने ये स्पष्ट किया है कि एंड यूज़ की मॉनिटरिंग तभी आवश्यक होगी जब आप उसका प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर लेंडिंग में उसका लाभ आप लेना चाहते हैं। चौथा और पांचवा जो कि महत्वपूर्ण प्रश्न है LTV के संदर्भ में है, वो हमने कहा है कि LTV केवल जो कंजम्पशन लोन्स हैं उसमें ही, कंजम्पशन लोन्स में ही LTV का सिद्धांत लागू रहेगा। बाकी में आप क्रेडिट अप्रेजल करेंगे उसकी और अन्य इनकम्स हैं और सिक्योरिटीज़ हैं, उसके हिसाब से अगर LTV रेशियो से ज़्यादा भी देते हैं तो वो रीपेमेंट कैपेसिटी के बेसिस के ऊपर में उसका आकलन करके वो दिया जा सकता है। और पांचवा और महत्वपूर्ण जो प्रश्न है LTV से ही संबंधित है, वो 75% हमने उसमें अभी आज के दिन में हमने ड्राफ्ट डाला था, उस 75% को हम छोटे लोन्स के लिए 85% तक करने का हमारा प्रस्ताव है। 85% छोटे लोन्स के लिए, बिलो 2.5 लाख के लोन्स के लिए पर बोरोवर 85%, लेकिन इस 85% में इंटरेस्ट जो है वो भी इंक्लूड करना होगा। तो पहले वो केवल हमारा 75% था और प्रिंसिपल एंड इंटरेस्ट का ही था, जो कि कुछ कंपनियां पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स जो हैं, अधिकतर सभी पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स 75% पे ही दे रहे थे, इंक्लूडिंग इंटरेस्ट प्रिंसिपल। इसलिए वो प्रिंसिपल जो है केवल 65, 66, 67% तक ही दे रहे थे। लेकिन कुछ अन्य NBFC इत्यादि और कुछ छोटे बैंक भी हो सकता है, वो जो है 75% प्रिंसिपल दे रहे थे, तो इंटरेस्ट मिला करके बुलेट रिपेमेंट लोन में विशेषकर वो 88% तक भी चला जाता है। क्योंकि अगर 18% का लोन है तो आप रिवर्स कैलकुलेट करोगे तो वो 88% तक चला जाता है। तो छोटे लोन 2.5 लाख रुपए तक के लोन के लिए इंक्लूडिंग इंटरेस्ट 2.5 लाख प्रिंसिपल प्लस इंटरेस्ट। तो ये पूरी स्पष्टता जो है हम अपने सर्कुलर में देंगे। हमें उम्मीद है कि इससे जहाँ पे मिनिमम रिस्क के साथ में इस गोल्ड लोन की श्रेणी को हम अच्छे से रेगुलेट कर सकते हैं। दूसरा आपका प्रश्न है कि क्या हम FIIs वगैरह के लिए हम कुछ लिमिट्स वगैरह, फॉरेन बैंक्स वगैरह के लिए लिमिट्स वगैरह कुछ बढ़ा रहे हैं। तो देखिए ऑलरेडी लिमिट्स तो 74% की लिमिट है, ऑलरेडी 49% की लिमिट है ऑन ऑटोमेटिक अप्रूवल रूट एंड अनदर 25% तो अप टू 74% गवर्नमेंट अप्रूवल रूट में जा सकते हैं। तो उसमें तो कोई बदलाव की आज के दिन में कोई ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है, उसमें कोई चेंजेस मुझे नहीं मालूम ये प्रश्न कहाँ से आ रहा है कि उसको हम चेंज कर रहे हैं। एक दूसरा उससे जुड़ा हुआ है 15% हम अलाउ करते हैं नॉन रेजिडेंट्स के लिए, लेकिन केस टू केस बेसिस पे 15% से ऊपर भी वो जा सकता है। तो उसमें कोई ऐसा बदलाव अभी अति शीघ्र कोई भी बदलाव उसमें नहीं हो रहा है। हाँ, हमने ये इस बात ज़रूर कही है कि हो सकता है उसका आप लोगों ने उसको आपने देखा हो, कहीं पे पढ़ा हो, कि हम ये पूरा जो ओनरशिप स्ट्रक्चर है, जो एलिजिबिलिटी कंडीशंस हैं, जिसके अंदर में FFI नॉन रेजिडेंट्स के लिए आज के दिन में 15% है, उस सबको हमको पूरे को एग्जामिन हम कर रहे हैं। वो इमीडिएटली नहीं होगा, उसमें समय लगेगा। ये जो है बहुत डीपर क्वेश्चंस हैं जिनको क्रिकेट की
पर दुनिया के सबसे ऊंचे सेतु का उद्घाटन करते हुए नजर आ रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी।